there we have it, folks. I've literally taken everything I can of this engine. There's a couple more bits I want to take off yet, but the majority of it's now off, even down to this little dipstick tube that was sticking in this there and bolted up to there. I've just taken everything I can reuse off of it, because at the end of the day, if this ends up going for scrap, then why lose brackets and stuff that you can reuse on another car another time? So yeah, I wish I could have shown you a little bit more, but as I say, I am really against it with the darkness today, because it is after work. It's currently 7 o'clock, so how long it's going to stay light for I couldn't tell you, but obviously it takes a lot longer to do work if you're trying to film at the same time. So what I'm going to try and do is film it as I put it all back together for you, because then obviously it will be cleaned up anyway, so it'll be a lot cleaner, a lot easier to sit down and talk about anyways. Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to show you that and show in great detail. So yeah, let's get this thing on the floor, because next I want to separate the engine and gearbox. I've taken off the bar that normally goes from here across to here, hence this sort of shape of the sump, because it allows the bar to go across the sump. Now I just want to take off the flywheel cover bolts here, which basically just stops dirt and stuff getting up to where the clutch is. And then we just want to take all these little bolts off across the top here, and then that should then allow me to pull the gearbox off it. Happy days. As I previously mentioned, I was going to have a look at the clutch friction plate on the old engine before I considered what to do and whether to change it over. Indefinitely, the one from the old engine is definitely going on, because if we look at the rivets, they're sitting below the top surface of the friction material, which means you've got plenty of meat left on it. The other one, it's all sitting very, very close to the top of the rivet, so it's not got much life left in it. First step to obviously getting this thing to fit back in the car, taking the exhaust and inlet manifolds off, obviously with the throttle body on top, because obviously this is monoport injection. And now I've just been around the front here as well, and I've just taken out each of the spark plugs, thread a bit of 3-in-1 oil down each hole, which just basically means when we start turning over, because it's sat for around about a year or so, if there's any surface corrosion at all, hopefully the 3-in-1 will sort of penetrate through it and break it down. So yeah, basically give us a bit of a lubrication up. Also gave us a bit of a chance to check all the spark plugs and see how roughly it would have been burning beforehand. And rather happy to say it didn't look too bad. So bad indeed. Obviously we're never going to know the true health of the engine until we get it running. Alright everyone, so I finished off last night having blown the manifold out with the airline, blown all the ports on the head out with the airline just to make sure there's no rubbish in there before we put the mask and tape on to seal it all up. Obviously also sealed that there up so no dirt gets inside there, and basically undoes everything I've done, blowing it all out to get any debris out. I had to leave it like this because I hadn't got a gasket for going between here and the head. And the idea was to ring around to motor factors today and see if we could get one from somewhere. As it turned out, I had a bit of a struggle, couldn't find one. But then when I was on the phone to somewhere, I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, haven't I got one of them in that box in the garage? And lo and behold, I've just been down to the garage and yep, I've got a brand new genuine one on the shelf. One brand new manifold gasket on. Yep, looking very, very nice indeed. Interesting fact, early engines have 13mm nuts, later ones like this have 10mm nuts, but the stud itself is an M8 no matter what. Just had a very, very lucky escape indeed, chaps. I was going to try and torque the pressure plate on the other night, and for some strange reason the torque wrench chose to not click at 25 Nm, and I was thinking this must be tight by now. Just so I thought, yeah, okay, let's just stop because this isn't working. Head sheared off, it was like, yeah, that's definitely not good. I've just taken the flywheel off the old engine, thinking, yeah, we'll just take it off, swap it over, that way we'll end up with full-blown 6 full house like we're supposed to have. And got this to say, so I thought to myself, I haven't got a reverse drill bit. And I thought I would like to try that and see if it works, see if it will get it out, because it wasn't it wasn't tight, it was just purely the fact that obviously between here and inside the thread, the bolts go up because there was too much torsion there. I just managed to use just a standard drill bit, drill it in. As you can see, it's completely nowhere near centre at all. Then just literally put the drill itself in reverse, and luck would have it, it just sort of spun half a turn, just enough for me to be able to get my hands on it and then unwind it. So happy days indeed, very happy with that. So I'm now just going to pick up one of the other bolts I've got spare, put the bolt back together, and 35 in reality is just sort of like a really good firm nip with your hands. So that's what I'm going to do instead. And there we have it, the engine gearbox now bolted back together. I'm leaving this drive shaft here in for now. It's not the right one to fit the gearbox of the car, but it just stops dirt and stuff getting inside it. What I'm now going to do is go over to engine bay and sort of start making it look a little bit tidier and cleaner, if you like. Because obviously while the gearbox is out, it gives you better access. The only other thing I might add to this setup right now is a starter motor, because it goes here. But apart from that, we are pretty much as far as I really want to go. So the carburetor's not really ready to be bolted back on, so that it's better just be left like that. Here is where our starter motor goes. Now, as you're going to see in that housing there is what we call a locating dowel. When you mount it on, the dowel goes into that middle hole, i.e. that one there. The bottom one, as you can see, is a stud, but that goes on there, bolts up to the housing there and there. Now at the back is where it gets a little bit confusing for you now, because there's this little bracket which is called the starter support bracket. This is a late starter motor that's been rebuilt. I think it's actually off of like a Clio, because it's got, I think it's either an extra tooth or a tooth less, which means it turns over at a different speed. That's about all the difference it makes. But it fits the car, so that's all that matters. This doesn't fit the starter motor, and because it being a later one and being a lot lighter, it doesn't need it on there anyway. That is our starter motor on a early setup. So on a on original starter motor, it would be a lot bigger, a lot heavier, and in the middle there will be a hole in this bit of casing, and that is where that bracket would then bolt up to, like so. Now as you can see, there is two holes there, and as I was saying about the bell housing and there being two different spacings for two different engines, I've never actually noticed these two different holes on this bracket, because I've never actually been in the position to actually study it. But I can bet your money that probably where you've got a different positioning at the other end, the second hole down here is probably for that second position. So yeah, to give you an idea of how easy these starter motors are to change, in the car my record used to be about, I think it was 10 minutes, because all you have to do is loosen that off and swing it back, and then you've literally got two wires that go on there, single wire that goes to solenoid, and then one nut and two bolts the other end. My car went for a bit of a phase of almost being allergic to starter motors, and I ended up with the record just being able to go underneath the car, come out 5 minutes later with it off, go back under with the new one, 5 minutes later back on. So yeah, they are very simple indeed to change. So yeah, happy days indeed. Right, so all I've got to do is grab the two bolts that attach that properly, which I think, if I remember right, are these two in my hand. And they literally slide through like so. Go like that. There we go. By the looks of it, they're the same size as the engine to gearbox mounting bolts, which I think was 16. So yeah, there we have it. That is the starter back on, and what we have on the back here is you have a wire that will be going straight from the battery, which in actual fact there's normally a bracket somewhere that supports the wire going from there, because it sort of comes straight off and then gets supported. So I'm not sure where that is at the minute, but we'll find out later. But yeah, basically you've got one wire going to the battery, and then on the engine loom you've then got another wire that comes back off on itself going that way, and that goes all around the alternator on this front side that bolts on here. Yeah, can you tell I've had these apart a few times? Before I look at putting the engine back in, I thought, sod it, let's just give the whole area a bit of a wipe over, make it so that the red stuff is actually red again, and voila, now looks a lot better than it did. So not perfect, but she ain't the perfect car, she's the Patina car, so that'll do, mate.